They say they sold their souls. The rock stars whose guitar riffs are too perfect to be human. The actors whose success seems unstoppable. The politicians who come to power out of nowhere. The idea is as old as humanity itself. The pact with evil for earthly success. It has names. Faust, Paganini, Robert Johnson at the Crossroads. But what does it really mean to sell one's soul? Is it a literal contract signed in blood? Or is it a metaphor for the moment when ambition overcomes morality and success becomes more important than one's own integrity? And what do the great teachings have to say about it? Welcome to 3 Spiritual Leaders, 1 Question. With me in the room today, Jesus, Muhammad, and the Enlightened One, Buddha. Let's begin with the legend of Faust, a man who is willing to trade his immortal soul for temporary knowledge and power. Jesus, in your teachings, there is a clear adversary of God, the devil, the tempter. Is this pact with the devil a real spiritual danger that people must fear?
The tempter is real, but he rarely comes with horns and a cloven hoof. He comes as a choice between 2 masters. I taught, no one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and Mammon.
Muhammad, in Islam, there is the concept of shaitan and the jinn. How does your teaching view such a pact? Can a person enter into a binding agreement with evil?
A person can turn away from the path of God and follow the whisperings of Shaitan. He can practice magic and forbidden arts to gain an advantage. But a contract that overrules God does not exist. At the end of the day, every person is solely responsible for their deeds before God. Shaitan can tempt, but he cannot force anyone.
Enlightened One, in your teaching, which is followed by over 500 million people today, there is no personalized devil and no concept of an eternal, immortal soul that one could sell. How would you interpret the legend of Faust from your perspective? What is this person truly selling?
This person is selling nothing. He is trapped in the endless wheel of desire. He believes that knowledge, power, and pleasure will end his suffering, but they are merely more fuel for the fire of his desire. He is not selling a soul. He is only trading one form of suffering for another, more intense form. The true devil is not outside of him.
That's fascinating. So you all see a great danger, but you describe it in completely different ways. Let's move on to modern myths. The rock stars who allegedly record satanic messages backward on their records. The hand signs often shown in rock music. The fist with 2 extended fingers, which some see as a devil's salute, but others as a sign of protection. The inverted crosses, the number 666. From your point of view, are these just empty provocations by artists? Or is there a real spiritual power behind them, a conscious invocation of evil?
A symbol only has the power that a heart gives it. Many play with signs like children with fire, out of rebellion, out of pain, to get attention. They do not understand the powers involved and do not know what they are getting into. That is dangerous, yes. But the greater danger does not come from the symbol itself, but from what it represents, a heart that turns away from love. An inverted cross around the neck is less dangerous than an upright cross worn by someone who is a wolf in sheep's clothing. The outside is meaningless when the inside is full of darkness.
There are no empty provocations. Every sign is a statement. Whoever consciously uses the sign of Shaitan opens a door for him into their heart and their life. It is playing with fire that inevitably leads to burns. The teaching of Islam is clear. Avoid everything that leads to polytheism or the glorification of evil. There is no grey area in these matters. Clarity protects faith and the soul.
A person who forms the symbol of the devil with their hand, what are they really doing? They are creating an identity. They are telling the world, I'm different, I am rebellious, I am dark. They cling to this idea of themselves. This clinging, this attachment, is the root of their suffering. The symbol itself is empty, but the energy they invest in maintaining this identity binds them to the cycle of pride, anger, and dissatisfaction. They are not summoning a devil from the outside. They are strengthening the devil that already resides in their own untrained mind, delusion.
This brings us to a modern movement that fascinates and repels many. People who openly call themselves Satanists. Though most of them do not believe in a literal devil as you have described him, Jesus. For them, Satan is a symbol for individuality, for rebellion against religious dogmas, and for absolute self-determination. Their highest commandment is often, you are your own God. They see this as the ultimate liberation. How do you see this? Is this the highest form of self-realization?
I can understand their criticism of hypocritical religious institutions. I also criticize the scribes who load people down with heavy burdens but are not willing to carry them themselves. But their answer is an escape to the other extreme. The freedom they seek ends in slavery to their own ego. To elevate oneself to be a god is the loneliest prison there is. True freedom is not found in the worship of the self, but in service to one's neighbor.
Whether symbolic or literal, whoever chooses the name of Shaitan as their banner has chosen their side. To declare oneself a god is the essence of arrogance and the greatest of all veils that separates a person from the truth. It is not a game. It is a conscious turning away from the light. There is no deeper darkness than that which one creates for oneself in the belief that one is the sun.
These people describe the pinnacle of attachment to the self, to the concept of an I. This idea, I am my own God, is the strongest knot with which a mind can bind itself to the wheel of suffering. Every action that arises from this I-centeredness inevitably creates disappointment, because the I itself is just a transient illusion. They seek liberation, but only forge their chains even tighter. True liberation is not the deification of the ego, but its complete dissolution.
So, it seems that for you, selling the soul is less a pact with an external power, and more an internal betrayal of the highest values, be it charity, faith in God, or the overcoming of the ego. This brings us to the last major question of today's conversation. Must one commit this betrayal to be successful in our world? Do all successful politicians, business leaders, or artists owe their success to such a pact?
Success is not evil. Wealth is not evil. Power is not evil. They are tools. But the love of money and power, when it becomes the sole goal, is the root of all evil. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God, not because his wealth bars him, but because his heart is so attached to it that he is no longer free to serve God and his neighbor. The pact is the decision to serve success instead of love.
Success and possessions are a test and a trust from God, an amana. A person can be successful and still be righteous if they see their success as a responsibility, if they are generous, ensure justice, and use their wealth to serve the community. The pact is made the moment a person sees their success as their own merit alone, becomes ungrateful, and forgets that they will have to account for it on the day of judgment.
Great worldly success is often the fruit of good karma from past lives, but it is a golden trap. It creates countless new attachments, new fears of loss, and new forms of subtle suffering. The pact is not a deal with a demon, but a deal with illusion. One trades the possibility of true liberation for fleeting, superficial gratification. Success is not the problem. Attachment to success is the problem.
3 teachings, 3 perspectives, and yet a common core. The true pact is not with an external power, but with ourselves. The question is not whether we strive, but what we strive for. And if you, who are listening right now, also have a question you would like to ask the spiritual leaders, then write to us on social media. Perhaps your question will become the question of one of the next episodes. We'll hear from you again next Sunday.